Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I wanted to do a reaction to the Dark Pictures Anthology Little Hope release date trailer. This trailer was released today and the game will be coming out in summer of 2020. Now this is actually the next game in the series from the Dark Pictures Man of Medan. You might remember me playing Man of Medan back in August. It was that choice-based game where you played as those survivors on that ship in the Pacific and you were trying to escape the horror on that ship, and you could beat the game with everyone surviving or everyone dying. This is similar, where you can beat the game with everyone surviving or everyone dying. But anyways, I will have that playlist at the end of this video, so if you guys want to see like my walkthrough of Man of Medan. I also uploaded a historical video back then talking about the real history of the Medan because it is based on a real story and a lot of people enjoyed that. And this next game is based on the Salem Witch Trials, or at least inspired from the Salem Witch Trials. And I thought that it was inspired from the Salem Witch Trials when I saw that teaser, and I saw that doll, and I saw like the girls dancing around the bonfire in the original teaser. And it looks like I was right on this. So I'm going to be doing my reaction to this, my little breakdown of this, and I'm also going to talk to you guys about the real history of the trials, what actually happened there, and how ridiculous they are. So I hope that you guys enjoy this. Let's do a reaction to this.
Hello. You survived the Man of Medan, so no doubt you discovered that the legend had a glimmer of truth to it. Now, I wanted to show you this. Don't be put off by the title. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. Anyway, the story of Little Hope will take you to a place that has a
That's the new
dark
characters.
history. A place that, like many such towns in 1692, was gripped by the fear of witchcraft. It was a place where neighbor denounced neighbor.
It looks like they will do a flashback
It
scene.
was a place where self-styled witch-finders dispensed the cruelest of punishments.
That's the water test. I'll talk about that a little later.
Death. The true question, of course, was whether the accused really did consort with evil, or was there a dark presence manipulating those who accused them?
Together, by God's grace, Little Hope will prevail.
Or perhaps it was something else entirely.
I dare say we'll find out.
And find out you must if you want to stay alive and keep those around you safe.
What is that?
That's the new
The
monster.
thing you will certainly discover is that all that suffering, all that malice, leaves a profound effect. It creates repercussions. There are always repercussions.
That's the witch doll.
I hope to see you soon.
Maybe in Little Hope, maybe somewhere else. It's inevitable.
So I'm really excited for this game, and I hope it's co-op like the last game, because I had a lot of fun playing co-op with it, with this game, with the last game, Man of Medan, with my friend, and gonna be the same concept where you can beat the game with everyone surviving or everyone dying, or beat the game with some characters surviving, some characters dying. But this game appears to be inspired by the Salem Witch Trials, which was actually a real event, and this actually happened. This happened in America, but it wasn't America at the time. It was actually the colonies, and it happened in Massachusetts. And in the real story, in the town of Salem, there was a few girls that were dancing around a bonfire. They were caught. Then one of the girls admitted to being a witch. And this started basically a witch hunt, and this is actually where the term witch hunt actually comes from, looking for something that isn't there. That's why, some people today in modern times, they use that term witch hunt to describe something that isn't there, looking for something that isn't there. But anyways, it caused a whole panic, a witch hunt started, and people started accusing other people in the town of being witches. So a lot of people got accused of being witches, and people would be executed in very brutal, horrifying ways. And we know that there was no witches. People got executed for nothing. They got executed for nothing. It was absolutely ridiculous, the whole thing that happened. And there's a few misconceptions about the Salem Witch Trials. The biggest misconception about the Salem Witch Trials probably is that the only people that were executed were women. That is not true. Women were the largest group that were executed, but there was actually a few men that were executed. So men could also be accused of being demons. Women would be accused of being witches. Men could be accused of being possessed by demons. And let me talk about a little bit of the stuff here in the trailer, because what happened was in the original game, in Man of Medan, we had a whole flashback scene, a World War II flashback scene where we were on the ship in the Pacific, where the two characters, and it looks like we're going to have a similar concept here, where the game is going to probably start out, so this is going to be probably the first part of the game, where it's going to start out with a flashback to that time when the trials were happening. And in this time period, if you were accused of being a witch, you were pretty much doomed. You were done. Like, there was nothing that could save you at that point. The only thing that could ironically save you was if you actually admitted to being a witch. If you admitted to being a witch, oftentimes you would be spared, but if you admitted to being a witch, it would destroy your honor. People would not look at you the same way. You might be banished from the town, so there would also be repercussions, and you could still possibly be killed. If you denied being a witch and you were convicted of being a witch, you were almost always executed. It was, I think, Salem, Massachusetts. I think they convicted like 20 people, executed around 20 people. I will look up the exact number in a moment here. But this was absolutely ridiculous. And this part in the trailer right here, this part actually shows you the water test. Let me just mute this right here so I can just play this here. But this is actually what they did back then. This actually happened. A little bit different than what actually happened, but very similar. And what this would involve was, the water test was a test to determine if somebody was a witch or if somebody was possessed by a demon. And the whole idea of this test was the idea that water was holy. So they believed that water was holy, and they believed that if somebody was innocent, they would sink. They would start drowning. If somebody was guilty, they would float. So if somebody was a witch, they would float. And nobody would be floating. You throw somebody in the water, especially when they're tied up with chains or rope, they're going to drown. You would think that after so many people, them drowning so many people, that they would stop and they would realize that there are no witches, but they just kept doing it and doing it. And eventually the trials were ended. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but in the game here, they show that somebody's it looks like, I can't see it up close really here, but it looks like somebody's tied up with either rope or chain. But in real life, it was a little bit of a different machine that they used. I'll show that right here. So in real life, they actually used a machine kind of similar to this. They could also throw people in the water tied with bricks, so they could also throw people with bricks, but this was a more common machine that they used. And this is a very scary thing. So basically the accused would be put in like a chair or put into some kind of cage. They would be tied up so they couldn't escape from that chair, and the executioner, the judge, the prosecutor would actually be pulling on this rope, would actually dunk the person in water, and the person would oftentimes drown. Even if they, decided to pull that person out, oftentimes it was too late and that person would drown to death. It was very brutal. I think that in the trailer they also showed a tree hanging. I believe I saw that as well here. Let me see here. Was there a tree hanging? I think there was a tree hanging. Yeah, so right here we have the tree hanging. We had that. That was also another common form of execution. And another misconception about the Salem Witch Trials is that they took place just in Salem. Salem was the most notable town, was the most notable area where it happened, and Salem was actually incorporated into several villages that were also doing the trials, but the trials weren't just in Salem. They were also in surrounding areas, and what happened was a lot of the surrounding areas actually ended up ending the trials before Salem did. Salem was actually the last one to end it, I believe, and Salem actually refused to end it even after the surrounding towns had realized that the trials were nonsense. And this was a very, very scary time, because you could just be accused, put on trial, and then executed for ridiculous reasons. Like somebody that doesn't like you, like a neighbor that doesn't like another neighbor, could accuse that person, and that person would be found guilty. So when you were put on trial, you were almost always going to be found guilty. There was no getting out of it. There was no innocence happening. But like, for instance, somebody could say, oh, this person was staying up too late. I saw them go to sleep at a very, very late time. They were wearing dark colors on a holiday, something like that, and that would be reason to investigate people. It would happen for ridiculous things. Oh, and another thing that I wanted to comment on right here, this one appears to be fictional here, this little cutscene. I don't think this is based on a real event that happened here, but they actually did end up accusing a 4-year-old girl. So a 4-year-old girl was actually accused of being a witch. That actually happened. The people that were making these accusations were maniacs. These people were maniacs. The prosecutors, the judges that were involved in this, and they were determined to find witches. So if they had a case before them, somebody was accused of being a witch, they were going to do everything in their power to convict that person. They had no rational thought. These people were crazy. As for the 4-year-old girl, I know know a lot of people are going to ask me in the comments what happened to her. The 4-year-old girl was, she was spared. So she was actually spared from execution. Her mother, I believe, was actually found guilty of being a witch and actually convicted and executed. So very scary how this whole situation happened. And in the trailer, I believe the guy actually says that the prosecutors or the people accusing people of being witches, those people could actually be the witches themselves, the demons. Let's listen to that one more time here.
So much death. The true question, of course, was whether the accused really did consort with evil, or was there a dark presence manipulating those who accused them?
Together, by God's grace, little hope will prevail.
Or perhaps it was something else entirely.
I dare say we'll find out.
So there will be an explanation for what the monster is that's chasing them in the game. In Man of Medan, it was getting kind of confusing at the start of the game, but the monsters were later explained on what they were, and I'm sure they're going to explain also this as well. But, this is a very good thought, because if there actually was, witches, if there actually was demons, you would think that the witches and the demons, they would actually be the people that would actually be accusing them, the people that would actually be doing the executions, not the people that were actually accused. So it might be that the prosecutor, like in this case, he might be some kind of monster. And that's my theory for the monster in the game. Because this monster that chases the survivors in this game, from the teaser trailers that we saw and even the release date trailer, we saw a little bit more of the monster, but we don't have a good look at the monster. We don't have a good look at the monster's face, what the monster entirely looks like. We have a little bit of its hand here, and I think at the end, we actually see a little bit of its face here. Yeah, we do see a little bit of the monster's face here. And what I noticed is that the monster uses chains to actually go after the survivors. My theory on this is the monster that goes after the survivors in modern time, and this might not even be in modern time, this might be in the 1990s. It might be something that the monster appears like 300 years after the trials, because the trials happened in 1692 from this game. There was actually much more trials happening before 1692, but 1692 is the most notable year of it. And this monster, the twist could be, because there was a pretty big twist in Man of Medan. The twist, at least my theory, the monster is not even a witch. It might be some kind of demon, some type of monster, but the monster, whatever this thing is, I think it might be the prosecutor. It might be the prosecutor, the judge, or the executioner. That's what I think, because if you notice, the monster is going after the survivors with chains. It's using chains. And who would be using the chains? It would be, the executioner, the prosecutor, the person carrying out the executions, the person condemning the people. That will be the person using the chain. So that's my own little theory. I guess when this game comes out in summer, I'll do a walkthrough of this game, and then I will we'll look at this and we'll see if I was right at all, if it was the prosecutor, if that is the monster. I guess we'll see on that. And I'll probably do a historical video going in depth on the trials. But last thing is, what actually ended the Salem Witch Trials? What caused these trials to end? What happened? What actually caused these trials to end? In the real story, in real life, what caused these trials to end was that people in the upper parts of the government, they started getting accused, and their wives started getting accused, because a lot of the judges and the priests that were actually involved in these accusations, the pastors, their wives actually ended up getting accused. So like a judge that was involved in like carrying out sentences of those accused, somebody could accuse his wife. And then what ended up happening is the governor of the colony of Massachusetts, his wife was actually accused of being a witch. And at that point, the governors decided to ban all trials. He said all trials were gone, they were done. And at that point, there was no more trials. The trials were over. But this shows you the level of hypocrisy. It's good that they ended the trials then and there, and it's good that nobody else was put on trial. Their wives definitely shouldn't have been put on trial. But the point that I'm making is that these people were massive hypocrites, because these people had no evidence, no real allegations, just nonsense against people. They condemned and executed people for ridiculous reasons. It was a witch hunt, had no basis. People were executed for ridiculous reasons. And then when people and their families were executed, at that point, they said, no, they're not a witch. This is over. We're ending these trials. So it shows you the hypocrisy. It's good they ended them there, but it just shows you the hypocrisy that they had no problem condemning all these people, executing all these people, but then when somebody in their family, the people that were convicting, they get accused, that's when they decide to end it. So it does show you the massive hypocrisy. And this is, one of the most infamous, craziest times in American history. This is America at the time. It was not called America, it was the colonies, but it's still a very, very dark chapter in history. Nobody would want to live in this time period. Trust me, you would not want to live in this time period. This would be a very, very scary time to live in, especially with these trials going on. But let me know what you guys think down below. Are you excited for this game? I'll definitely do a walkthrough of this game. So I hope that you guys enjoyed my video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone.